At a time in our nation's history where there are riots just about every weekend, it's a tough time to be in law enforcement. Our boys in blue just can't get enough support from us right now, since they're on the front lines fighting for our safety, every single day. All too often they're forced into making tough choices for the greater good, and every time they do their actions are hotly disputed. In cities where demonstrating and rioting has become commonplace, those who would normally go out on patrol in a simple uniform are forced to wear riot gear and treat individuals as part of an angry herd that must be calmed down by any means necessary. That was the case in St. Louis over the weekend when rioters got completely out of hand. However, even the rioters were no match for the highly trained police force. What police did once they got control of the situation was something that no one within earshot is likely to soon forget. Via The Guardian. Police officers in riot gear gathered alongside a St. Louis boulevard late on Sunday night, chanting "Whose street, our street," a common refrain used by those protesting against the acquittal of a white former officer over the death of a black man, after successfully clearing the street of demonstrators and onlookers. At a news conference early on Monday, Interim Police Chief Lawrence O'Toole said police had seized at least 5 weapons and said he was proud to tell you the city of St. Louis is safe and the police owned tonight. "We are in control," he said. "This is our city and we are going to protect it." No doubt the rioters weren't a big fan of this kind of force shown by police. However, if anyone has the right to call those their streets, it's the people who put their lives in danger to keep them safe. There's all the difference in the world between peaceful demonstration for the sake of public change and an angry mob looking to act out their own internal turmoil at the expense of anyone who would stand in their way. Unfortunately, most of today's so-called social justice warriors fall into the last category. The St. Louis police aren't having it. The chant drew criticism, however, from protesters, activists and some police officers. In a statement, Sergeant Heather King, president of the Ethical Order of Police, a group founded by African American officers, said, "That chant goes against the very code of ethics we swore to abide by. Whether we agree with demonstrations, protests or acts of violence, it is our job to do our job free of personal bias." On Twitter on Monday, the group said, "We are human and we will make mistakes. We are also people who have the last word, which can be arrest, freedom, or death. No need to chant." While it's not a normal procedure for officers to engage in this kind of group activity, there's something to be said for being able to hear your brother or sister in arms when you're fearing for your life. Battle cries are a long-standing tradition among all sorts of soldiers in arms. From the rebelle of the South to the hurrah of the modern-day Marines, knowing that somebody's got your back has been depended on to bolster the confidence of many a warrior. It's sad that our police officers have been forced into the job of warriors, but because of the sad state of affairs and race wars started by those who consider their lives to be the only ones that matter, that's what they are. More from our source about the riots and what the police were able to do about them. Hundreds of officers had mobilized after another day of peaceful protests over the acquittal of Jason Stockley in connection with the death of Anthony Lamar Smith. The protest began at the police headquarters downtown. Hundreds of people marched through downtown streets, the posh Central West End and the trendy Delmar Loop area of nearby University City. Protesters also marched through 2 shopping malls in a wealthy area of St. Louis County. Following the pattern of the previous days, more than 1,000 people marched peacefully for several hours. By nightfall, most had gone home. After nightfall, there were reports of property damage and vandalism, for a third night in a row. Several windows were broken at a Marriott hotel and at other businesses. Concrete planters were knocked over and trash cans tossed into the street. There were also reports from demonstrators of aggressive responses from police, including the macing and violent takedowns of compliant demonstrators. Police made more than 80 arrests, after authorities said people ignored orders to disperse following the peaceful protests. Demonstrators countered that police boxed them in, giving them no way to disperse. At least one credentialed reporter and several members of the public who were live streaming the protests were detained. Mayor Lyda Krewson told reporters early on Monday, "The days have been calm and the nights have been destructive." Krewson said that was unacceptable and that destruction cannot be tolerated. City police described being attacked by protesters using unknown chemicals. Demonstrators countered that the liquid some carried in bottles was apple cider vinegar, which some used to counter the effects of tear gas. In one picture posted to social media by police and described as an effort to confiscate bottles with unknown chemicals, one bottle was clearly labeled apple cider vinegar. One officer suffered a leg injury and was taken to a hospital. His condition was not known. On Monday, daylight brought calm. A racially mixed crowd of more than 150 blocked a busy street on the western edge of downtown, while State Representative Bruce Franks was at the front of a march to City Hall. Protesters chanted, "We will win together," and demanded a civilian police review board, then disbanded.